Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome to a special edition of SIKH Channel Community Talk. I'm very pleased to be joined by Tanya Kaur Marwaha, who is a consultant and has quite a story to tell about her own personal journey and her aspirations for the future. So please welcome Tanya. Tanya,
Srigalji, thank you for having me.
Asrika. Perhaps we can begin by speaking about your career and where you work at the moment. Briefly, can you tell us about your job title and what that means and what you do?
Yes, so I recently graduated from university this year in June, and I now work at Willis Towers Watson in London in the employee experience space. So, mainly helping organisations with their employee experience, their communications, and the entire employee life cycle.
That's tremendous. So you're just starting out in your career, and here at SIKH Channel, we like to host and welcome people from all walks of life and all stages of life. We've had the most senior business people, we've had prime ministers on, but more so we want to encourage young people in our community who are just starting out. And what sort of challenges are you facing at the start of your career?
I think one of the main challenges is finding out what I want to do and how I want to see that develop. I come from a family where I don't have much kind of business knowledge and expertise. So, trying to figure out what works for me, what doesn't work for me, and where I see myself in the future has been quite a journey, especially living with non visible disabilities. But that's something that I'm proud to be overcoming every day.
Absolutely. Disability and people have a lot of challenges in life, which sometimes are visible and not so visible. Would you mind discussing your particular challenges with us?
Yes, definitely. I'm more than comfortable talking about it. So, when I was around 19 years old, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, which is chronic widespread pain in the body, and Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is connective tissue disorder. I was having symptoms for these conditions for around 4 to 5 years prior to my diagnosis. So, a lot of the challenges during my teenage years was figuring out why I was feeling in pain every day, why I was feeling tired every day, and going to the doctors back and forth, and the doctors not knowing what's wrong with me and not believing me. And also, I think in our kind of community, our South Asian community, we don't really speak about non-visible disabilities or non-visible struggles. So for me, that was quite difficult navigating that lack of education, and also having conversations with family members about kind of breaking some of those barriers and stigmas around living with non-visible disabilities, especially at such a young age. Unfortunately, many people believe that because you're young, you're unable to have any physical health challenges or mental health challenges, but that's completely untrue. And there are a lot of conditions out there which aren't visible to the naked eye. And there are a lot of conditions out there which take years to get diagnosed. I was lucky to get diagnosed within 4 to 5 years. The nature of fibromyalgia and Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, they can take up to 20 years to get a diagnosis. So on a day-to-day basis, I'm always in pain. So right now, as I'm speaking to you, my hip really hurts, and I'm fatigued no matter how much I sleep and rest. So that's kind of the reality of the day-to-day life I live and have lived for the past 6 to 7 years.
That sounds extremely challenging and upsetting. And we offer our ardas and best wishes and hope that you are able to not only live with this condition but also improve over time. And perhaps you can tell us, how did this shape you? How has this shaped your character and your personality, having to live with this disability, with this horrible condition?
Yeah, so I think I initially was very scared to talk about it, and I didn't want anyone to know that I had these struggles and I had these symptoms that were unexplainable. But as the years went on, I really became someone who challenges and speaks up about stigma and stereotypes within the community. Initially, this was very difficult, talking against the beliefs that we have had throughout generations and challenging some of the really difficult questions and topics that we don't talk about often within our community. And I think that's really shaped who I am and has also helped me overcome a lot of these challenges. The fact that I can sit here today and speak very openly about what I live with every day in the hope that I can help others understand and also raise awareness around these issues is really empowering and motivating. And that's kind of how I see my life moving forward, is continuing to use this negative experience in a positive way to support others and also myself during that.
That's tremendous. You've taken the concept of chardi kala, staying in high spirits, positivity, which is an integral part of our faith, and you've implemented that into your daily life. And you've really taken a lot of positivity and brought forward a lot of good has come from this disability and this condition. And you also pioneered an organization called Champion Young Minds, which is absolutely amazing at such a young age. And despite having this physical challenge, you were able to launch this organization. Can you tell us a bit more about that, please?
Yes, so championing youth minds is something I started last year in April 2021 during the coronavirus pandemic. And that really came from my own lived experience of not talking enough about mental struggles and also the link between physical and mental health. And I was at university during the time, and I spoke to a lot of my peers and the students around me. And we all realized that during our mainstream education, we weren't really taught about mental health. We weren't really taught about how to look after our emotions, our thoughts. The way we're taught when we're younger that you have this body, and for example, if you break your arm, you know that you need to go to the doctors and get a plaster. We're not taught the same way about our mental health, that if we do feel a specific emotion, how to deal with that and how to seek support if we need to. And that's why I started championing youth minds from my bedroom. It started with just a few Instagram and social media posts about tips to care for your mental well-being daily. And then there were so many more students and young people who wanted to get involved and use their negative experiences of mental struggles such as having OCD, eating disorders, dealing with bereavement, in a positive way to support other young people to care for their mental well-being daily. And that's been such a journey for myself to learn more about how I look after my mental well-being and how I can better look after my mental well-being, but also supporting young people, especially because I think often we think that young people have life a lot easier than perhaps our older generations did. We have education, we don't have, as many people say, real life worries such as having a mortgage, having children, being married. But the truth of it is that young people have a lot of difficulties as well, especially in this day and age. And we need to be more understanding and empathetic, but also to support them on looking after their mental well-being as well.
Absolutely. I know that some people of my generation and older people sometimes like to talk about how hard they had it, but I think a lot of young people have it much more worse and much more difficult now, not least because of social media, being constantly under the spotlight, being compared. There's lots of pressure on young people. Can we speak about social media? Do you think it's become a force for ill and it's contributing to mental health and deterioration of mental health across the world?
I think social media definitely has its benefits and its disadvantages as well. So, for example, imposter syndrome is something that has come up in recent years that young people are struggling with a lot. I think, like you said, on social media, everyone's posting the good things from their life, not necessarily the challenges that they have every day. And then that means that we often think that other people are living better lives or have more than us, and we instantly compare to how they're living to ourselves, which can be definitely can contribute to the deterioration of mental well-being. And if we aren't being aware of the content that we're exposed to, it can definitely be harmful, especially for young children who don't know how to navigate social media well. But then there's also positives to social media, such as we created Championing Youth Minds through social media, and we've been able to build a community of over 700 young people, not just within the UK, but internationally in countries like India, America, Egypt, Japan. So social media definitely has some ups and its downs, but I think it's really for us to learn how to use it properly and use it in the right ways.
That's tremendous. And in terms of social media, do you think there'll be more controls over what can be posted? You've used the social media platforms to create advantage to help other people. There's a lot of harm being done as well. Do you think that increasing regulation will take priority. There's a lot of talk about it in the EU and across North America about regulating the platforms. Maybe that will be a good thing.
Yeah, I definitely think more regulation and more censorship of what can be posted is definitely would be beneficial, especially for young people. Although the ages for certain social medias are 15 or 14 years old, there are still young people who can access these social media websites and sites a lot earlier, at a younger age. So I think it's definitely important that there are more guidelines and stricter regulations around what can be posted and what can't be posted. And I think part of that kind of strategy is also ensuring that young people are taught about social media, the dangers of it, but also the benefits of it from a younger age in school. I think by the time we learn about it in school, we've already been on the sites and already accessed them. So I think younger children should be taught about how to use social media effectively. And also communities like we have at Championing Youth Minds, where young people can speak to each other about how they're using social media in a way that's good for them and helping their mental well-being.
And as a female, did you find any additional barriers or hurdles to being heard, to having your voice heard and your condition recognized? Was it more difficult you felt as a female, as a woman, trying to get recognition for your condition and treatment?
Yes, so within the UK, 1 in 20 females have the condition of fibromyalgia, but unfortunately, most of them won't actually know that they have the condition. Part of that is because it's so difficult to diagnose, but also, secondly, is that a lot of females, when they do seek medical support, are told that it's hormonal, and that's the explanation for it. And that's also something I experienced as a female, but also as a young person as well. I was told that I was too young to have these types of conditions, and it's probably just hormonal. And as a young person as well, you hear so much about she's pretending, she's doing it for attention. It's growing pains, it's stress. I remember I once went to the doctors and he told me I was stressed for my A levels and that's why I was in so much pain. So I think there's definitely lots of barriers that females and especially young females have to overcome to be able to receive recognition and support.
That's tremendous. And it's extremely inspiring that you've overcome these barriers and you've been able to seek help and to get recognition for your condition and also help others in a similar situation. What advice would you give, or any tips, or any feedback, any knowledge you can give to any other people in a similar situation who have a hidden disability, maybe a similar condition, or some a completely different type of disability, which is different to yours? It may be mental or physical, but it's hidden and not so easily detected or seen. What advice would you give to somebody who wants to be heard and get treatment and recognition?
Yeah, it can definitely be very challenging when those obstacles that you're facing are non-visible, so they're not visible to other people who can immediately pick that up. One piece of advice that I'd definitely give is to be persistent and be resilient. A lot of people might tell you that what you're feeling or thinking is just in your mind or you're making a big deal out of something, because unfortunately as a society we're very evidence based and we like to see the evidence for everything. But when it comes to, for example, mental health conditions, there's not always concrete evidence that you can go by to understand it. So I think it's definitely about trying to be as resilient and persistent as possible to make sure that you have your voice heard. And then the second piece of advice I'd like to give everyone in society and our community is to make that effort to be empathetic and understand other people's struggles. Just because we might not be able to see it and we might have never experienced something similar doesn't mean that someone isn't going through that. I think we only like to believe things if we can see it and someone can prove it to us, but we should definitely be more understanding and open-minded to understanding things that perhaps we didn't have a knowledge of beforehand.
That's great advice. Thank you very much for that. And how did your faith help you? Because in the Sikh faith, as you know, equality, tolerance, acceptance of all is very important, being accepting of everybody, regardless of disability, and so on. And your parents, how do they support you and your local community in terms of the Gurdwara and your wider family? Did you gain all the support that you needed?
Yes, definitely. I'd say family and faith have been the two pillars to overcoming most of these challenges and continuing to be persistent and resilient. So we obviously have quite a lot of stigma within our community, but I think because Sikhism is such an accepting and open faith, we are able to apply the learnings that we learn in Sikhi to the everyday life that we have. So when we're talking about being tolerant and being accepting and everyone being equal, we can apply this when it comes to dealing with situations such as not understanding someone's challenges and difficulties, but as long as we can be tolerant and try to understand, we can support them and also learn as well as individuals. And my family have definitely been one of the most supportive kind of aspects of my life, even though they weren't fully understanding and they can never be in my shoes and experience what I experience every day. They've always tried their best to be there for me and understand and be there for support and rely on God as well, that they believe that God does everything for the best. And that's why even today now, I believe that my challenges and my disabilities are a blessing from God, because if I didn't have those challenges, I wouldn't be doing the work that I'm doing today and trying to help as many people as possible.
That's absolutely amazing, very inspiring. And keeping with the concept of Chardi Kala, you've taken inspiration, positivity from a very negative situation. So that's extremely helpful for everybody who's watching and might be in a difficult situation. Tanya, thank you very much. And here at SIKH Channel, we want to congratulate you and thank you for meeting this challenge and using it in such a positive effect in progressing your career, in helping other people through your organization. Anything we can do to SIKH Channel to support you with your work or help you at all, please do let us know. We'd be happy to support. And please continue on this path. You're at the start of your career. You're still very young and you're starting out, but you've achieved so much. And we're sure that you will go on to achieve great things, not only for yourself, but also for your community and for others. A true sense of seva. Thank you very much. And please do keep in touch. And we'll give you the final word. What message would you like to give to all the SIKH Channel viewers worldwide?
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. And I guess the final message I would like to give is just be kind no matter what, and stick to what our religion has taught us, which is to be kind, tolerant, positive, and accepting, because that really is going to be integral in everyone we meet in life and everything we do. Because, like I said before, some challenges and some obstacles people face are non-visible, and we'll never know how they're feeling or what they're dealing with. But the most we can do is be kind and accepting.
That's absolutely tremendous. Thank you very much, Tanya, Kaur, Marwaha, for joining us here on a special edition of SIKH Channel Community. Please do keep in touch, and no doubt we'll speak to you again in the future and see how you're getting on and support your organisation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ